Ladies, gentlemen, and galaxy far, far away enthusiasts, prepare your tissues for tears of laughter and perhaps a few of frustration, because today we're diving into the hyperspace disaster that is Disney's $250 million Star Wars hotel. Yes, you heard that right. Disney decided to cash in on everyone's favorite space opera by constructing a hotel so expensive and so exclusive that even the Force was like, dude, chill. Let's start with some devastating numbers that could make even Darth Vader shed a tear. In the fiscal quarter following the hotel's grand opening, Disney reported a net loss equivalent to the GDP of a small nation. Their stock price took a nosedive faster than the Millennium Falcon in an asteroid field, dropping a stomach-churning 12%. Imagine that. 12% of Disney's value vanished like Obi-Wan in a lightsaber duel. Analysts speculated that the entry fee to the Star Wars hotel was so high, it wasn't just scaring away potential guests, but also seasoned Jedi. Now, one might ask, how could such a titan of imagination and childhood dreams get this so horribly wrong? Well, strap on your lightsabers, because here comes the kicker. Disney, in their infinite wisdom, set aside an estimated marketing budget so enormous it could fund the creation of several Death Stars. That's right. They pumped a cool $100 million into marketing, all of which was presumably used to craft a narrative so compelling that you could hear the collective sound of wallets opening across the globe. But, spoiler alert, it seems that people just weren't that excited about paying luxury prices to sleep in bunks, reminiscent of a Rebel Alliance hideout. The audacity in design didn't stop at just the astronomical construction costs. Oh no. They decided that guests should feel like they're part of the Star Wars saga, which would have been great if the saga they were aiming for wasn't the part where everyone's sitting around waiting for something to happen. You'd think for $5,000 a night, they'd throw in a few Wookiees and maybe a lightsaber duel or two. But much like Luke's search for a decent parent figure, it was a lot of money spent for a whole lot of emotional damage. And let's talk about the questionable decision to make everything look like you're on a busted freighter. Because nothing screams luxury getaway quite like living in a meticulously designed replica of Han Solo's hoarder spaceship. It was an aesthetic choice so bold it made you wonder if Disney hired someone who thought rustic meant rusty, but make it chic. Now, imagine being in the boardroom where this idea was pitched. Picture Disney execs sitting around a table and one brave soul stands up and says, "What if we build a Star Wars hotel that makes guests feel like they've been abducted by space pirates but charge them for the privilege?" Cue the unanimous nods of approval, because nothing says lucrative business model like pretending you're being held captive by intergalactic criminals. The cash hemorrhage didn't stop there. They decided that every meal should be a culinary adventure. Translation: food so expensive and bizarre it could probably double as a prop on set. I mean, why eat a regular burger when you could have a Bantha-inspired patty for the low, low price of your entire college tuition? Yet despite these head-scratching decisions, Disney seemed shocked that only a select few wanted to pay a mini-mortgage for an experience that could be best described as awkward family vacation meets Comic-Con. You could almost hear Mickey Mouse weeping in the distance. In retrospect, perhaps the real reason this venture flopped wasn't just the astronomical price or the somewhat questionable execution. Maybe it was the fact that the galaxy far, far away lost a bit of its magic when it was brought down to Earth and subjected to earthly constraints like budgets, spreadsheets, and quarterly profits. Or maybe, just maybe, the public wasn't ready to role-play as a space tourist with a maxed-out credit card limit. Here's to hoping Disney learned a valuable lesson from this misadventure. But given their history of churning out sequels, reboots, and unnecessary spin-offs, I wouldn't be surprised if they're already planning a new hotel concept based on their next billion-dollar fantasy. Maybe this time it'll be a $500 million Marvel mansion. Because who wouldn't want to stay in a place where the highlight is getting accidentally webbed in the face by an eager Spider-Man impersonator while you're just trying to find the bathroom? Stay tuned, friends, because in the world of Disney, there seems to be no shortage of bold ideas, massive budgets, and occasionally catastrophic outcomes. Until then, may the financial odds be ever in their favor. And so, it began. Disney's latest venture, A product not just of magical dreams, but also of meticulous boardroom strategies, was set to launch like a glorious fireworks display over Cinderella's castle. But instead of illuminating the night sky, it fizzled out faster than you can say bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. The launch was meant to be a momentous occasion, a culmination of creativity, innovation, and a dash of pixie dust. Yet as the proverbial curtain rose, the audience didn't gasp in wonder, but instead reached for their phones. Twitter, that cauldron of instant opinions, erupted in a storm of hashtags that Disney executives surely wished were as fictional as their characters. Magic Mishap and Mickey Fail, swiftly gaining traction. In the first 24 hours, negative tweets flooded the platform at a rate of 100,000 an hour. A chorus of disgruntled fans, tech bloggers, and even a few bewildered grandmas who just wanted to share the magic raised their digital pitchforks. On YouTube, the video unveiling the new product was met not with the applause of the masses, but with the unmistakable sound of thumbs turning downwards. The dislike ratio climbed ominously, hitting 90% within hours. Users flooded the comments section, each remark competing for the title of wittiest jab. More like Disney, quipped one user, garnering thousands of likes, while another pondered if the new attraction was designed by Goofy himself. Meanwhile, in the corporate towers that were likely not modeled after Sleeping Beauty's castle, alarms were sounding. Analysts, once bullish about Disney's trajectory, found themselves scrambling to explain numbers that seemed better suited for a horror film. The company's market share didn't just dip. It took a nosedive off a cliff so steep, even Rapunzel's tower looked like a gentle hill by comparison. A projected growth of 15% swiftly transformed into a troubling 10% decline. Reports trickled in about the immediate drop in sales volume. Ticket sales for Disney's theme parks, long considered untouchable bastions of fun, were down 25% within the first week of the launch disaster. Merchandising, the backbone of Disney's empire, showed shelves stocked with products nobody wanted. Even the most die-hard collectors looked at the memorabilia as if they were cursed trinkets from an old pirate's chest. Stockholders, whose dreams were more retirement villa in Boca Raton than a castle in the clouds, watched as their investment's value evaporated. What was branded as the next big leap for Disney turned out to be a leap straight into the abyss. Analysts, once optimistic with their charts showing steady climbs, were now faced with the harsh reality. Expected growth of $200 million turned into an unexpected plunge of $50 million below previous earnings. The boardroom, once filled with pitches and proposals that promised to merge classic Disney charm with cutting-edge technology, was now a scene of damage control more akin to a Pirates of the Caribbean ride gone terribly off course. Executives huddled together, attempting to weather the storm with statements that sounded as rehearsed as a tour guide's script. "We are listening to our fans," they assured. Though the fans seemed more interested in screaming than whispering. Out in the wild world, the public reaction was a mix of disbelief and disdain, almost as if Mickey himself had been caught not believing in magic. Blog posts dissected every misstep with the precision of a fairy godmother picking apart a pumpkin carriage. Podcasts dedicated entire episodes to the fallout, with titles such as "The Day the Music Died," Disney's Launch Gone Wrong taking center stage. In households across the globe, the letdown was personal. Parents who had excitedly promised their children an experience akin to stepping into a Disney movie were met with skeptical looks from their young ones, as if they'd just revealed that Santa Claus had been outsourced to a discount toy factory. The conversation shifted from "when can we go" to "do we even want to?" Within Disney's ranks, the mood was more somber than a Monday at the Haunted Mansion. The creative geniuses who had spent countless nights dreaming up this new vision were left picking up the pieces, wondering where it all went wrong. Was it the execution, the marketing, or some cosmic alignment of misfortune? In the aftermath, the realization was clear. Disney, the titan of storytelling, had momentarily forgotten the plot. The lesson was as old as time itself. No amount of digital prowess could replace the heart and soul that had built the legacy in the first place. Would this be a chapter in Disney's history that would eventually lead to a triumphant comeback, or a cautionary tale about the perils of losing touch with your audience? Only time would tell. But if there was one thing everyone knew, it was that this was not the happily ever after they had scripted. In the grand halls of corporate America, where dreams are forged and destroyed in equal measure, none could rival the Shakespearean tragedy that unfolded in the Magic Kingdom's boardroom. The tale of Disney's financial nosedive, one worthy of a villainous monologue, had filmgoers worldwide shaking their heads and executive board members tightening their ties, hoping to avoid becoming part of the plot. As the dust settled on this high-stakes adventure gone awry, the final tally emerged from the smoldering ruins of Disney's market cap, a staggering $9 billion wiped out, like a rogue genie granting a wish in reverse. Except this time, Aladdin's lamp had run dry, and no amount of rubies or silver could resurrect the company's once glistening fortunes. The corporate realms soon buzzed with tales of bitter recrimination, whispered as if around a campfire where the marshmallows had been replaced with measly stock options. At the helm of this shipwreck stood Disney's CEO, whose severance package now seemed more like a golden lifeboat floating away on a sea of shareholder tears. Yes, our very own Captain of Calamity was shown the door with an opulent $60 million farewell, a sum so obscene it could have hosted a small fleet of misguided Pixar sequels. Nothing quite says expensive lesson like being paid the GDP of a small country to leave, but such is the price of leadership in the age of spectacle. Public relations spin doctors worked overtime, their keyboards emitting smoke as they hammered away at damage control narratives. A bold step forward, a new direction, or a minor fiscal adjustment. But no amount of PR pixie dust could mask the underlying truth. This was not just a financial stumble. It was an avalanche of epic proportions. The brand, once synonymous with childhood wonder and enchantment, now bore the scars of its missteps. Disney's reputation lay battered and bruised, gasping for air like a fish out of water. The House of Mouse, once the envy of entertainment empires, was now the butt of late-night talk show jokes from coast to coast. The headlines dripped with irony, each a sharp quill thrust into the tender side of corporate pride. Analysts, with the smug satisfaction of those who had seen it all coming, forecasted a recovery period longer than Rapunzel's golden locks. 5 years, perhaps even 10, for the tarnished crown to regain its shine. For audiences to trust again, not just in the whimsy, but in the wisdom of those at the helm. In the interim, the company began its rehabilitation process, hoping to mend its fractured image. Boardroom brainstorming sessions turned into brainstorming marathons, as executives huddled to craft a plan that would lure back the magic. Strategic partnerships were forged, franchises dusted off and polished, and initiatives launched with great fanfare. A veritable buffet of innovation served on a platter of desperation. Meanwhile, rival companies watched with hawk-like precision, poised to seize upon Disney's moment of vulnerability. Competitors who had once trembled in the shadows of Cinderella's castle now emerged, emboldened and ready to stake their claim in the mercurial market of childhood dreams. Amid the turmoil, loyal fans clung to the hope that their beloved behemoth would rise from the ashes. They pined for the return of the characters and stories that had shaped their lives, a cultural lexicon passed down through generations. For them, Disney was more than a brand. It was a vessel of nostalgia, a beacon of imagination in a world often bereft of wonder. And so, as the curtain fell on this act of corporate misadventure, the lessons were painfully clear. The boardroom's ambitious gambits, born from hubris and a touch of magical thinking, had yielded neither riches nor renown, but rather a somber reminder of the old adage, "He who flies too close to the sun may find his wings scorched by the blinding glare of reality." Yet amidst the cautionary tales and the finger-pointing, there remained a glimmer of hope. For in the world of dreams, even those dashed upon the rocks, a sliver of possibility endures. The road to redemption might be long and arduous, but with each cautious step forward, the magic that once defined Disney could be rediscovered. Until then, the fairy tale lands would twinkle a little less brightly. their heroes and villains mingling in bittersweet harmony, waiting for the day when they could once again captivate audiences with stories that began, as all good stories do, with the promise of once upon a time.